What's up, guys? I am back. Let me turn on my ring light because I'm an idiot and I forgot to turn it on. So, my phone right now is charging by a miracle of Jesus, and you guys all need to say thank you, Jesus, because I was not able to buy a charger today. And my old charger, the one I told you guys that I messed up yesterday, it's charging the phone, but you have to like wrap it up and do every kind of ninja move you can to make it charge. And that's how my phone's been surviving. And that's exactly how it's right now. It is pinned to my ring light. It is pinned to my ring light. And I'm just amazed at that it actually worked. Anyway, enough with me thanking Jesus for making my charger work right now. But anyway, today is story time. And I know I've noticed that this type of video has not been doing so well on my channel. Like, this thread of videos have not been doing so well on my channel. But the reason why I'm going to continue doing it is because, one, I'm a passionate person. And when I put my mind to something, I'm going to keep doing it. And that's how it should be. You should never give up, and you should continue doing it, because YouTube is such a great place to voice your feelings, to voice your concerns, to voice anything that you have to talk about. That is what YouTube is all about. And I'm not going to give up. Your girl's not a quitter. And if you like it, great. If you hate it, great. Either way, fine. Anyway, today's story time is about my scariest pregnancy. After I had my son, and I did the story time on my firstborn, just because I was getting high blood pressure towards the end, I was already labeled high risk for all my other pregnancies. And if you're wondering why I've done a firstborn in my scariest pregnancies, was because for my second child, which was my daughter, which it was a great pregnancy. I didn't have nothing wrong during pregnancy. It was after the fact. So I'll just sneak this little story in. But this is not the scariest pregnancy. But after I had my daughter, and I had a C-section, she was fine. She went up to the nursery while I was still like getting off of all the anesthesia and everything, recovery. And in recovery, I guess I must have lost so much blood during the C-section. And mind you, I had my first two kids in Puerto Rico, so I must have lost so much blood during the C-section. And I don't know if they were just stupid or the doctors in Puerto Rico are not qualified, but I'm pretty sure I needed a blood transfusion. And my mom states that they did give me a blood transfusion. May she rest in peace. But it was they never told me, but she said that they told her. Maybe my mom was just so nervous that she thought they said that. But since she said it, I've always told all my OBGYNs after her that I have had blood transfusions of losing blood during the pregnancy. But anyway, while I was in recovery, all of a sudden, I'm like in and out. And people who had C-section knows that when you're under heavy medication or anesthesia, you zooming in and zooming out and zooming in. I was just so tired. And I was awake for this whole C-section, of course. But I was just so like tired because that C-section was scheduled for like 6 o'clock in the morning. So and then I was nervous. So I didn't get no sleep. So when they gave me the anesthesia, it knocked me out. Literally, I saw my baby, gave her a kiss, and knocked out. So I couldn't tell you when I was road to recovery, anything. So as I was waking up, I was feeling dizzy. And all of a sudden, all the monitors around me started, and all of a sudden, I had like 20 nurses and doctors all over me. Come to find out, I was dying. I was dying. My blood pressure had went so low. There was barely a heartbeat. That's why I was like fading in and out, and I was so dizzy. They kept on trying to keep my eyeballs up. And then they gave me oxygen. And they gave me a medicine or something. And after like 5 minutes, it started going back to normal. Beep, beep, beep. So I was good, and that was like the only scare. And that was just scary enough. So ever since then, I've been always labeled as a high-risk pregnancy. Now, the one pregnancy that caused me hell from beginning to end was Victoria, which is the baby that is always so happy and always trying to get naked for you guys. She, God bless her, because God is good and God knows what he does. I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, I'll say like 2 or 3 months after my mom passed away. And it so happened she ended up being a girl. So I don't know. I have this weird thing where I feel like my mom is part of her. Don't judge me. That's just my belief, and it makes me feel fine. So yeah. But anyway, around the time I was pregnant with my daughter, we was going through so much changes. I was still grieving because my mom had just passed away, and I was dealing with having 2 extra kids in the house, because at that time I had my sister still. And it was just so much going on. Then we was living in my mother-in-law's apartment that she had left us, and there was some shit that she was doing with the rent money that we was giving her, but I'm not gonna get into that because that's personal. And we ended up getting an eviction notice. And since it wasn't our apartment, we couldn't fight for it. So we had to end up going to the shelter. Now, I was already a high-risk pregnancy. First of all, I felt like I didn't want to have a child when I found out I was pregnant with her. And we were not ready because we still had Xavier. And at that time, he was really small. He was like maybe 2 years old. And I really didn't want no more children. So I wanted to have an abortion. Mind you, I am against abortions. But 1, I knew we were not ready for another one. And 2, I had already 3 C-sections. And my son had just maybe was turning 2, I believe. And that's not enough healing time. They tell you enough healing time is like 5 years of each C-section, which I was told. Not sure if that's how it is, or just the doctors trying to stop me from having babies. But when I had told my doctor about it, it was already too late. I was already over, I believe, 12 weeks. And at that point, I heard my baby's heartbeat. And I didn't want to do it anymore. But anyway, they told me that it was going to be a real bad complication if I would have had an abortion. Which is bullshit. Okay? But it is what it is. And she's here. And I thank God every day for bringing us such a beautiful and amazing and smart and funny little baby girl. So that was the least of it. But anyway, throughout the pregnancy, I was high risk. The whole pregnancy. And I was labeled high risk from before because of my complications with my other pregnancies. But with Victoria, it was a bit different because you would assume if you're pregnant, you're gaining weight. Now, when I got pregnant from Vicky, I was like 230. And it was like after I had Xavier, I didn't lose no weight. Like I always bounced back to my regular baby, like pre-baby bod. And no, when I had this little sucker that's laying in my bed right next to me, nope, I was not gonna lose no weight. So I was like 230 with Victoria, and I went up to 238 throughout the whole pregnancy. And that was all baby, because I was not gaining no weight whatsoever. And let me tell you, I used to eat. And at times I would eat. I'm lying, because I really wouldn't want to eat. But I think it had a lot to do with stress, with everything, and the situation we was in, and being in the shelter and everything. But I would eat, and my biggest craving was Chipotle with her. So when she grow up, she's gonna love Chipotle, or either love it or hate it, either or, and I will understand. But so yeah, so with her, after I hit 7.5 months, or 7.5 months, they told me I had IUGR, which is, what is it called again? Oh my God. And, oh my God. It's something called, she had a growth restriction. I can't tell you the whole word. I forgot what it was. Meaning that she was such a small baby. And, if she wouldn't gain no weight by time I hit like 34, 36. Before I hit 36 weeks, they would have to do a C-section. Now, I was getting weekly sonograms, guys. Weekly sonograms. And I remember the one before my last sonogram, she was only 3 pounds, and we was already at 8 months. And they're like, you got till next week. No, I'm lying. It was like 2 sonograms before the last. And they was like, by next week, if you don't gain no weight, or the baby's not gaining no weight, we're going to have to do a C-section. So I was mortified. Now, mind you, my doctor's was 2 hours away. And, I'm sorry, guys, I'm getting a call. My doctor's was 2 hours away, because we was placed in Brooklyn, and my doctor's office was in Manhattan. So it was just ridiculous. I wasn't even supposed to be commuting or traveling or doing all what I was doing with her. And I still had to do it because my kids was going to school in Manhattan. So it was just a lot of stress throughout that pregnancy. And I'm just so glad that she's so healthy and beautiful and she's here with us, because God was on our side, to be honest. So the next sonogram, we go, and she had went up to 4 pounds. So they said, okay, she's growing now. So they undiagnosed IUGR, and they said, okay, we could do a C-section at 39 or 40 weeks. I've always had my kids at always like at the 37, 38 mark. But I was like, okay, cool. Now we get to the last sonogram before I have my baby. And I go in, I'm so excited. I'm like, yeah, only like about 2 or 3 more weeks to go, and Victoria will be here. Yeah, right. I go to the sonogram, and usually a sonogram, you'll be in and out really quick. And I will be like, no lie, 10 minutes in there and be gone. So I'm noticing, you know, the technician is giving me good conversation. We're talking for a while. And I'm like, wait, this is taking longer than it usually is, because she still has like the sonogram thing, and she's like still like looking. All this time we're talking, past 10 minutes, she's just looking, and then after a while I'm like, hey, but why it's taking so long, and why you're still looking? She goes, I have the heartbeat, and it's, you know, not as strong as we want it to be, but she's not moving. And as much as she would like try to shake my stomach and move her around, and usually the babies will be like punch you and kick you and like leave me alone, she was not moving at all. So she ran and got the doctor, and the doctor checked, and she was like, oh no, the baby did go up to 5 pounds. So IUGR was not a factor anymore, but the fact that the baby was being stressed and it looks like she was stressing out because her heartbeat was going faint and she wasn't moving. They had to rush me down to labor and delivery. And I remember calling my husband and like, babe, get to the hospital. And he was like, why? And I'm like, because we're gonna have a baby. And he was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, she really is not moving. And of course he was freaking out because he had to go to work and the kids. It was just a big freak out. And mind you, we was not ready. I didn't have no clothes packed. I didn't have no baby bag packed. Story of my life, because I always wait for the last minute from everything when I'm pregnant. So whatever, I go down. They had a lot of emergency C-sections, so mine wasn't an emergency because they was monitoring the baby and she was still fine. But they had like 2 or 3 emergency C-sections they had to do. So they didn't get to do my C-section till like they didn't get to me till like around 11:30 in the night. And they prepped me, and I remember it was my husband was there and my 2 oldest kids' godmother. And that's a fucking different story. That anyway, woo, girl, yeah. So I go in and I'm freezing cold because it's freaking frigid in the C-section place. And you know, I see that there's prep and there's an anesthesiologist there and whatever. And usually they'll just give me the epidural and that's it, because after a certain time it wears out. And a C-section roughly is like about 30 to 40 minutes tops. But they left whatever the epidural is. This doesn't look right, but when they penetrated the epidural, there was like a little thing, I guess, to the anesthesia, and whenever they needed more, they would like release and give more. And it was like, just in case, you know, because this is now your 4th C-section and we want to be prepared. I said, okay, no problem. And you would think this was like easy peasy for me. Epidurals hurt. You hear me? They hurt. I don't give a shit who tells me otherwise. And if you did not feel no pain, it was probably because you was contracting and that pain was worse than what the heck that was. But I was not contracting. Like for Xavier, I did not feel it. For Kylie and Jeremiah, I felt the pinch, but it wasn't as bad because I guess I was having contractions. I didn't know what the heck it was. But for Victoria, I had no contractions, so I felt it. And I was like, oh, I wanted to die. Anyway, we're there. Hubby's next to me, sitting down or whatever. No lie, like 5 to 8 minutes later, all of a sudden we hear, Vicky is here. So they bring her, and I guess they cleaned her up. They wrapped her up and they gave her to my husband, and he's bringing her to me. The baby was like this small. All my babies were 7 pounds, 12 ounces, 7 pounds, 16 ounces. Like, it was crazy. I'm lying, not 16. Kylie was 7 pounds, 12 ounces, and the other babies was 7 pounds, 8 ounces. That's like, okay, that's normal. Okay. Vicky was 5 pounds and like 2 ounces. And she was like this little teeny weeny baby. And she was so dark compared to Xavier. He was the whitest baby. And me and like I told you guys, like me and my husband was like, is that even our child? But we found out if he was our child by his toes and his nose. That's how we knew he was ours. But Victoria, she came out like Indian dark, and she had a head full of freaking hair, dark black hair, and she was just full of hair. And she was a hairy baby. I guess she still had the lanou going all over her. She was just hairy. And she was like the cutest little thing. And I'm like, okay, we're about to wrap up. And time keep going and going. And now I'm at the point where I'm like dazing off, like, and I'm feeling like really weak. I can't even keep my eyes open. And I'm like, what the freak is going on? And my husband, I see that he stands up, eyes open, sit back, and then he asks the doctor, is everything okay? I'm trying to remember pieces because I was like in and out. And doctor's like, yeah, she's fine. But you know, doctors try to tell you that so you don't freak out. Anyway, about 3 hours later, my C-section lasted about 3 hours. And come to find out is that my the scars, it wasn't closing. My C-section wasn't closing at all. It was hard to grip a good close because of all the scar tissue that was there. So they were having a problem, and also in the process I was bleeding. They did have blood bags ready for me because I am O positive, so I need my own kind of blood. I cannot take O like other blood types. They could take my blood because it's universal. Me, it has to be my type only. So it was like they had my blood bags ready and in the cooler, and thank God they didn't get to that. But I was pretty in a slim chance to getting it. They told me that they were about to use it because I had lost a lot of blood. But that was like the last option, was to give me a blood transfusion. So when I remember when they was transferring me over from the operating table to the gurney, and I was awake, but I was like woozy. I looked, and when I tell you it looked like a bloody river everywhere. Then they had like a drying rack, and they had nothing but all the gauze or whatever they was using to soak up the blood, all hanging. And there was a nurse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 counting them all over again. And I remember the doctors was counting 1, 2. So now I understand what they were. It was to make sure that they didn't leave none inside. So yeah, when I got out into recovery, she was the first baby I was able to hold right after. I never held none of my babies but her straight after. So we had the, you know, the chest to chest time. I even tried breastfeeding her, and she was just such a greedy baby because she was like getting frustrated because she couldn't eat. And I gave her what I could, and then I bottle fed her. And, you know, it was just an amazing feeling. She was such a miracle baby because she was so tiny, and all of the things that she put her mama through, she's just amazing. And I'm just happy she's here. But she was the scariest for me. I mean, besides almost dying with Kylie. But to me, it was the scariest because the whole time, I already know that my C-sections always last from 30 to 40 minutes. And I was very much aware that it was 3 hours in. And I felt like, oh God, I think I'm going to die. And that's the worst feeling to feel, especially after having a baby. Because everything starts flooding to you. Like, I'm not going to be able to see them grow up. I'm not going to be able to see them finish school. I'm not going to be able to see them get married. I'm not going to be able to, like, hold my grandkids when I'm older. You know, all these things start flooding your mind. And then when I was thinking those things, I felt such a peace overcome me. And you guys must get frustrated so much because I talk about my mom a lot. But it was like my mom saying that everything was okay and I was going to be just fine. And she was there with me. Because for me not to get a blood transfusion with all the blood that was everywhere, God was so good to me. And I believe she was like my guardian angel, making sure that I got home back to my babies. And yeah, guys, that had to be like the scariest for me. So yeah, story time is over, guys. I hope you really did enjoy this video. And I'm sorry for the weird setup here because I'm like all sunken low and I just don't like how it looks. Because usually my tripod is like same level as me because I could change it. And I feel like I'm all the way down here because my phone is like tilted because it's like more for watching movies and stuff. But hey, I still did it, guys, and I did it for you. So remember, guys, if you like this video, a big fat thumbs up, you know, help your girl out. Leave a comment down below of your scariest pregnancies, if you had any, or, you know, any comment that you want to leave. I would love to read them, and I always answer back. Everybody knows that. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. And if you would like to join my YouTube family, just hit the subscribe button as we do this whole journey together. And as of now, I have such a bunch of loyal subscribers, and I love you guys to death, and you guys know exactly who you are because you guys are so committed to commenting and liking my videos. You guys are awesome. And to my new subscribers, you guys are awesome too, because I wouldn't be here doing videos if it wasn't for all the support I'm getting from my subscribers. So yeah, remember, hit the bell notification if you haven't already, so you could be up to date with new videos being released. And I release new videos every single day. It may just be one some days, it may be 2 or 3. I've noticed that I be putting out at least the maximum. I've been noticing I do more 2 videos a day than I do 1, or sometimes if it's a good day I do 3. It just depends on how much time I have and how tired I am, because you guys know I have 5 children, so it's not rocket science, guys. But yeah, I do it for you guys. So with that being said, love you guys, and until the next story time.